We are live.
Great, thank you. So good afternoon, everyone. It's 4 o'clock. Welcome to the Thursday, May 23rd, 2024 Nantucket Conservation Commission meeting. Permit me to confirm that all members who are present can be heard. Members, when I call your names, please respond in the affirmative. Mark Beal.
Here.
Tim Brain.
Here.
Seth Engelborg.
Here.
Mike Miserelli.
Here.
Joe Plandowski.
Here.
Linda Williams.
Here.
If anybody wishes to speak, please raise your hand and wait to be recognized by the chair. Please state your name and any relationship you might have to the project before speaking. Please keep your devices muted when you're not speaking so that you're not picked up by the recording or creating a distraction. We'll start the meeting with public comment on items not being heard this evening. And seeing none, then that moves us on to the public hearing. And before I address the Sconset Bluff Preservation Trust, I'm going to articulate the continuances that we have. And so let me see. Turk Family LLC, 15 Marsh Hawk Lane, is continued until June 6th. Town of Nantucket Mycomet Pond is continued to June 6th. And Nantucket Island Land Bank, 45 Nonatum Avenue is continued until June 6th, as is the Land Bank's property in Matisham Valley Road and Surfside. So we open the public hearing with Sconset Bluff Preservation Trust, 41 through 119 Baxter Road, SE 483736. Jeff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think this will probably make tonight's discussion pretty brief, but I wanted to we have some pretty substantial updates for things that have been going on that I think would be helpful for some scheduling. Just to let everyone know, we have received the draft report from our third-party reviewer, Beta Group. We got it towards the end of last week, and as we always do with reports, we made a staff review and had a couple questions and fixes to make. So we sent that back to them and should have that back any day now, but it is complete, and we'll hopefully have that by the end of this week. That'll give them a 1-week turnaround. For those who missed the last, not the last select board meeting, the second to last select board meeting, Ian and Seth were able to attend and make a solid case to engage Beveridge and Diamond as our our independent legal review for the questions that have been provided. The select board authorized that request finally, and that is underway. We've sent back and forth our formal agreement, and they are underway reviewing those questions, and we'll hopefully have those here shortly as well. They weren't anticipating it taking a huge amount of time to get through. So hopefully, I think from our end, and I know it's always disappointing to say this, I think we should have all of that ready and be able to have both those parties available for the meeting at this same time on June the 6th. And then we can hopefully make some substantive progress at that point. And hopefully even get it distributed quickly enough that we can get responses from all the other parties and move closer to the end than we are now for that. I know we communicated that to SPBF and their team, and I know their legal counsel, Mr. Nyland, is here tonight. But that's where we are at a staff level, and that's kind of our recommendation, is to move everything to the 6th, and we should have all of our long-awaited reports by then.
Thank you, Jeff. Mr. Nyland, good afternoon. Would you like to add to that?
Yeah, good afternoon. I'll be brief as well. I had 3 questions, and I think Jeff has answered 2 of them. First, that we would have and we think we're down to 2 meetings left. I think, to have hopefully to have the meeting with respect to the peer review and then one after that. So we're happy to see that's June 6th. The second question was we hope that can be distributed to us so that we can get back to the commission and have a productive meeting on the 6th where we can respond if there are questions that Beta has or requests for information that we're able to respond in advance. As you know, that's what we were hoping was going to happen today. It didn't happen today, but at least it will happen on the 6th. And then the last question has to do with the legal counsel. I have a letter back from January with 4 questions on it, Mr. Chairman, I think under your signature. That's what we're working from in terms of the questions for legal counsel. Just wanted to see again, will we be handling that on the 6th? And are there other questions that we should be aware of with respect to what you're asking legal counsel?
So at this juncture, I believe that that is what Beveridge and Diamond has signed a contract to examine.
Specific to those 4 questions from January.
And if any other questions come up, we would certainly notify you in advance.
That'd be very helpful. So we would agree that we don't have any technical people. We don't have, unless the members have some other questions that they would like us to look at. Otherwise, we're ready to go on. We'll be ready to go on June 6th.
Thank you, commissioners. Any questions? Or Vince? Joe. Good afternoon, sir.
When are we going to see the documents?
I think Jeff, didn't you say you hope next week?
I'm hoping we'll have the beta report maybe tomorrow, and then the legal brief hopefully within the next week.
But before the 6th, by a few days, I hope.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Any other questions? And seeing none, then we'll continue that until June 6th. And I realized okay, there we go. So then that brings us on to, and thank you, Mr. Nyland, and see you June 6th.
Yes, if you need an assent to that continuance, then we're hereby assenting.
Okay, thank you very much. Every I dotted and every T crossed, right? Okay. So then that brings us on to notices of intent. Glenby LLC, 33 Nonantum Avenue. Art Gasparo. Good afternoon, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am here representing the owners for a project involving a set of aluminum seasonal beach stairs. And we had continued the last hearing to receive response from Natural Heritage, which we have received. And I believe that we are in a good position to move forward and close the hearing, unless there's any questions or concerns from the commissioners.
Great. Any questions from commissioners? Any questions from members of the public? A motion to close. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Mike, but you were running a close third on that one. So
I can give you a 4th if you want one.
thank you, Linda. So by roll call vote, Mark Beal.
Aye.
Tim Brain.
Aye.
Seth Engelborg.
Aye.
Mike Mazzarelli.
Aye.
Joe Pandowski.
Aye.
Linda Williams.
Aye.
Ian Golding, aye. So this brings us on to Olmsted 50 Walwinet Road.
I have to recuse from this, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Linda.
Same for me, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Mark?
Good evening, Mark Ritz from Site Design, representing the applicants at 50 Walwinet Road. The project before you this evening is a request to construct a garage on a slab foundation outside the 50-foot buffer on a property that is ringed by wetlands. So we have a small area in the middle that is outside the 50, and we're proposing a garage there next to an existing septic system. The Elevation of the wetland is down in the low 20s, around between 19 and 20 feet. There's a steep drop off, and the garage slab will be at an elevation of 26. So we're going to be above the 2-foot groundwater separation. We don't believe we require any waivers for this project. And we're keeping everything, it's within existing lawn area. And we received a no-take letter from Heritage about a week or so ago. With that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mark. And I must say on the drawing, it's a remarkable feat to have fitted it in there. So, Will?
I just would like to quickly point out that I did not share my screen at all. And if anybody would like the plan put up, I can do that now.
Not for me, and I think unless anybody else wants it, I think, you know what, do it for members of the public. Would you mind just momentarily, just so that people know what we're talking about? That way it's actually on the record. Thank you. So. Great. All right. Thanks, Will. So, any questions from commissioners? No questions from members of the public. Mark, would you like to close?
Yes, please.
Will, do we have everything we need to close?
Yes, we do.
Great. A motion to close, please. Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Joe. So by roll call vote, Mark Beal,
Aye.
Tim Brain,
Aye.
Seth Engelborg,
Aye.
Joe Plandowski,
Aye.
Ian Golding, aye, with Mike Mazzarelli and Linda Williams recused.
Thank you.
Thank you. So that brings us on to Crona, 5 Old Quidnet Milk Route, Art Gasparin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Similar to the last application, this is one where we were waiting on, that's the second public hearing. We were waiting on Natural Heritage's response, which we've received. I don't believe there was any outstanding questions or concerns from the commission. Just in quick summary, the project is for a ground-mounted solar array greater than 50 feet from the vegetated wetland resource areas. And we filed an NOI instead of a RDA because of the estimated and priority habitat.
Thank you, Art. And I assume no questions from the last time. So, and we have everything we need to close, Will?
Yes, we do, Ian.
So, notice to close. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Tim. By roll call vote, Mark Beal,
Aye.
Tim Brain,
Aye.
Seth Engelborg,
Aye.
Mike Mazzarelli,
Aye.
Joe Plandowski,
Aye.
Linda Williams,
Aye.
Ian Golding, aye. That brings us on to 16 Monomoy Road Nominee Trust, 16 Monomoy Road. Art.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is for the second public hearing on a project, which was for the reconfiguration slight extension of an existing elevated walkway where we would remove a set of stairs and reconfigure the add approximately 8-foot section of elevated walkway and move the stairs to access the water in a location that will sort of prevent the pedestrians from walking across the salt marsh when they get to the bottom of the stairs to get to the water at this spot. We believe that it will ultimately be a benefit to the resource area. We have received response back from, I believe it was Division of Natural Heritage, which we had been waiting for.
Great. Any questions? And Art, I'm so pleased there aren't any railings on it. You know, I could
No railings.
shake your hands.
Yes, sir.
All right. So, Will, are we in good shape here again?
Once again, we are all set with the submission of NAGSP.
Great. So, motion to close. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Tim. By roll call vote, Mark Beal,
Aye.
Tim Brain,
Aye.
Seth Engelborg,
Aye.
Mike Mazzarelli,
Aye.
Joe Pandowski,
Aye.
Linda Williams,
Aye.
Ian Golding, aye. That brings us on to the, let me see, the Nantucket Islands Land Bank, 101 Myocomet Avenue. Rachel, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is similar to Mr. Gasparo's recent recent notice of intent, a situation where I presented this before. There was no questions and we were waiting for natural heritage approval. Just to summarize the project, this is a small existing shed that's on a path adjacent to a vegetated wetland, which borders Myocomet Pond. And we're intending to remove the materials by hand and simply cut the posts off at the soil surface. Natural Heritage came through with no conditions, and so I'm happy to answer any questions and would be interested in closing the hearing tonight if that's possible. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Rachel. Any questions? And
Short-term rentals going away.
the what?
No more short-term rentals here.
Right. Well,
Yes, we have everything we need to close.
excellent. A motion to close, please. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Joe. By roll call vote, Mark Beal,
Aye.
Tim Brain,
Aye.
Seth Engelborg,
Aye.
Mike Mazzarelli,
Aye.
Joe Pandowski,
Aye.
Linda Williams,
Aye.
Ian Golding, aye. And that brings us on to Barry, 26 North Cambridge Street. So, Brian, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Brian Madden from LEC Environmental Consultants, representing the applicant. The proposed project involves a reconstruction of a dwelling and appurtenances. The resource areas on the project site, there's a few. The entire site is within land subject to coastal storm flowage, up to elevation 9. There's coastal beach and a fringing salt marsh to the north along Nantucket Harbor, and there's a newly formed coastal dune that is also present immediately upgrading of the salt marsh. Within the southerly portion of the site, there's an isolated vegetated wetland, a small little settled depression adjacent to the driveway, and BVW and salt marsh further to the south. Under existing conditions, a fair amount of the existing structure is within the 50-foot buffer zone to these resource areas. The proposed reconstruction is intending to shift everything further to the west outside of the 50-foot to the greatest extent feasible, but increasing those wetland setbacks. And the new proposed dwelling is going to be situated on a crawl space slab foundation with flood vents in compliance with state and local building codes and flood zone performance standards. The existing garage is to remain in its current footprint, but is being proposed to be renovated to incorporate flood vents, whereas under existing conditions, it does not. So that structure will be reconstructed in compliance with flood zone standards as well. Directly to the south of that garage and driveway area, there's a shed and trash bin within the 25-foot buffer zone to the BVW that is proposed to be removed. And the stippled area Surrounding it within the 25-foot buffer zone is a proposed revegetation area. It's approximately 400 square feet to be replanted with native shrubs that I spec'd out in the notice of intent. There's some new septic tanks being proposed and a force main connection. There's existing shared septic system on the property to the south, but aside from the septic tanks, no further septic work being proposed. Cumulatively, there's a net decrease in structural footprint within the 50-foot by 167 square feet. Again, the project is increasing wetland setbacks to the dwelling, reconstructed dwelling. While it's incorporating that crawl space slab foundation, it will be located within 2 feet of high groundwater, but the slab will be above high groundwater elevation at 3.8. Groundwater is down below 2 on the project site. And we feel that the proposed restoration, revegetation efforts, the increased wetland setbacks, and the structural footprint reduction in the 50-foot represents a long-term net benefit over existing conditions. And with that, I'll turn over to questions.
Thanks, Brian. Questions from commissioners? Questions from members of the public? And seeing none. Brian, do you wish to close?
Yes, please.
Will? I can't get up your inspection notes. My iPad is frozen, so I have to ask you.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Yes.
Affirmative, we do have what we need for this.
Okay, excellent. Mark, is that motion to close? Thank you, sir. Seconded by Joe, thank you. By roll call vote, Mark Beal,
Aye.
Tim Brain,
Aye.
Seth Engelborg,
Aye.
Mike Mazzarelli,
Aye.
Joe Pandowski,
Aye.
Linda Williams,
Aye.
Ian Golding, aye. That brings us on to, let me see. Nonaham 25 LLC, 25 Nonaham Avenue. Brian, you're up again.
Thank you. Proposed project is simple, straightforward, similar to the one you just heard at 33. There's this past winter, there's been some substantial changes to the shoreline out there. Whereas it was much easier to access the beach. Now there's a pretty good drop off from the coastal dune down to the beach. And what's being proposed is a removable set of seasonal stairs. It's a Luma dock. We had submitted the specs for the Luma dock set of stairs, but pretty standard aluminum that will be seasonally removed, and we did get through natural heritage approval, and that's it for the project.
Great. Questions from commissioners? Seeing no questions, Will?
Yep, with Heritage, we are good.
Good. So a motion to close. Thank you, Tim. Seconded by Joe by roll call vote. Mark Beal,
Aye.
Tim Brain,
Aye.
Seth Engelborg,
Aye.
Mike Mazzarelli,
Aye.
Joe Pandowski,
Aye.
Linda Williams.
Aye, and we are just ripping through these. It looked like it was going to be worse than this.
Don't jinx it.
Yeah,
Ian Golding,
Yeah,
aye.
there's always something that'll stop it.
Yeah, yeah. So that brings us on to Pizzone or Pizzoni Real Estate Trust, 14 McCoy Road. David Haynes, you can tell me how to pronounce it correctly.
Well, I did take Italian, but I can't do it. Good evening, and I hope not to slow you down any. This is a request, a notice of intent to relocate an existing cottage on the south shore over off of Wacoit, down off of the Matacashan Valley and all in that area. The bank has rapidly eroded this winter, and there's a coastal bank, land underwater, land under the ocean, coastal beach, land subject to coastal storm flowage, all seaward of the cottage, obviously, but about 50 feet is the top of the bank. They're requesting to relocate the cottage landward approximately 175 feet to get the cottage and the septic system completely outside of the 100-foot buffer zone, and let this area naturalize again. All disturbed areas will be loamed and seeded. This does require review by Natural Heritage. We haven't heard a response yet. I can imagine they're going to ask for a botanical survey. They did at 10, and so I assume they will hear. So I will be asking for I am asking for a continuance. But if you have any questions, I'd like to be able to address them at the next meeting or this afternoon.
Thank you, David. Any questions? Thank you, Will, for sharing that, the screen share.
Thanks for reminding me.
So, any questions from commissioners? Or members of the public? So, seeing none, David will continue that until June 6th.
Great. Thank you very much. I'll see you then.
All right, thank you. That brings us on to Golden Sunshine Realty Trust, 100 Cliff Road. Brian?
Hello again. This project involves a proposed addition onto the east portion of the existing house that primarily overlaps with an existing covered porch. There's about 103 square foot bump out within the outer 100-foot buffer zone. To the southeast, there is a isolated vegetated wetland and a certified vernal pool. We have included the 50-foot buffer zone to the wetland and the 75-foot to the certified vernal pool. All work activity is up gradient of those setbacks, being the no structural setbacks from both resource areas. And we are proposing to add a dry well for roof runoff for the addition to help with recharge. But relatively straightforward, and I'll turn over to questions.
Thank you, Brian. Any questions from commissioners? Or members of the public? So, Brian, would you like to close?
Yes, please.
Bill, thumbs up?
We have everything we need for this one.
Great.
We do.
And a motion to close. Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Mike. By roll call vote, Mark Beal,
Aye.
Tim Brain,
Aye.
Seth Engelborg,
Aye.
Mike Mazzarelli,
Aye.
Joe Pandowski,
Aye.
Linda Williams,
Aye.
Ian Golding, aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. So that brings us on to Maria Mitchell Association, 28 and 33 Washington Street. And
Mr. Chairman, I have to recuse myself from that.
yes, Tim, thank you. And Mr. Sarati.
Yes, hi.
Hi.
I'm George Surati, the engineer on the project from Surati Engineering. May I share my screen?
Absolutely.
Yes. Locus. Okay. So the project is on two separate properties. This parcel here, which is 28 Washington, is owned by the land bank and is currently being leased by the Maria Mitchell Association, and they're running their operation from it. Their lease has ended, and the agreement with the land bank is to deliver the property free of structures. So we're in front of you to permit the removal of 3 small buildings, a driveway, parking area, and a deck from 28 Washington. One of the 3 structures, which is this one here, and we have a better site plan that shows more detail. This is what is currently used as the ticket booth. It's gonna be temporarily relocated to this area here at 33 Washington. The Maria Mitchell owns these 3 parcels, including 33 Washington. So the relocation is gonna be temporary, not final. If we go to the site plan, this here is 28 Washington. This is Washington Street. The property lines are shown in solid black line. The harbor is at this location. We located the coastal beach. This is the back end of the coastal beach. This area here between this dotted line and this dotted line here is the coastal dune. The entire property lies, well, the majority of the property lies within FEMA velocity zone. So from this blue line to the east is a VE flood zone with an elevation of 11.0. And behind the blue line, it becomes an AE zone 9. So the project is to remove all of the structures. This deck, which is a ramp and a deck to a path that goes to the beach, a small portion of the deck is located on the coastal dune. The area of the deck that's in the coastal dune is 28 square feet. We are outside natural heritage, so we did not do the filing, with them. All of these buildings are built on piers, so we don't expect any heavy, excavation. There will be a bobcat that would be removing the foundations, from the site. There are probably 3 small pier foundations supporting the deck that's within the coastal dune. The piers and the deck will be removed only with hand tools for the area on the coastal dune. The rest of the project here, they're gonna have a small machine that's gonna basically remove all of the remaining structures. This area here is paved with brick pavers. They will be removed. This is the ticket booth that will be relocated to 33 Washington. They will need a large equipment to do that. This here is the deck. There is a small pool and then the ramp down to the beach. So that's what's going on in this at 28 Washington. There is a wetland that's on the neighboring property. This here's the 50-foot setback from it. This here's the 100-foot setback. And there's another wetland across the street at this location. I'm gonna go to 33 Washington. So the Maria Mitchell owns 3 parcels.
Oh my God, it's like running my fingers down.
Linda, you're not muted. Sorry, Mr.
I know,
Surratt.
I'm having an issue with the Maria versus Mariah. It's just me. It's
Okay.
Mariah Mitchell.
It's not relevant. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whichever. Mr. Surratt, please continue.
Okay. So there is a building at this location, another building, and 3 more buildings on separate lots over here. What they would like to do is temporarily store the ticket booth at this location. They want to reuse it in the future. It's in a pretty good shape, and they'd rather reuse it than tear it down and rebuild it at a later time. So that's basically the project.
Thank you, sir. Questions from commissioners? Yes, Will, if you could stop the screen share, and I believe Seth had his hand up first, then Mark Beal, and then Linda. So Seth?
Thank you. 2 questions. And it is definitely Mariah Mitchell, but thank you. So the first question is related to the proposed snow fencing in 28 Washington Street outside or near the coastal dune. I'm assuming to protect the sedimentation of the removal of that walkway. I'm not sure why that specific type of fencing is being proposed. Normally we would see silt fencing. So I just request that we would see that there instead, and that for that to be temporary, not a permanent installation. So that's my point related to the fencing. And then my second point is related to the 33 Washington Street side, related to the temporary storage of the ticket booth office. And I think we need to be very careful in orders of conditions because it's hard to actually write an order of conditions that specifically allows for temporary storage. So we need to be clear that when we write orders of condition that the permit doesn't allow for the future use of buildings in that site, and that any other building that is proposed at that site would have to come through a new notice of intent. And I'm sure people assume that's obvious, but if we don't do that, and then we allow a building to exist in this place, then theoretically the applicant could come back and say, well, we have a pre-existing use in this location, so now we can build another building in this location. So we need to make sure that we're adding that condition into the permit. And just a little bit of history, that ticket booth is not just a ticket booth in name only. It was actually the ticket booth for the Nantucket Railroad way back over 100 years ago. So I'm glad it is being preserved and reused, but we need to make sure that we're not granting permission for a building in that space in the future, because that's a area that is obviously flood prone and will need a much better design for the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Seth, and thank you for that sliver of Nantucket history. Mark.
Thank you, Chairman Golding. Seth primarily brought up 2 points that I was going to bring up. The snow fence is not appropriate there, I don't think. Silt fence would be more appropriate. I'm also concerned with how we're going to word a temporary temporary structure on that lot. I'm troubled by that, and I also share the issue of they can pay. I can't believe they would, but once they pivot there, it's might be hard to get it off. So I just want to make sure we're wording the order of conditions carefully, and I don't even know how we're going to word it. So that's going to be a problem for our staff to work out, but those are my thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. I take it you're not volunteering your property out in Pulpus to store it for them?
Well, they'll be there in July, but for a different purpose.
Okay. Linda? Linda?
I'm having trouble unmuting this thing. Is there a long-term plan for this lot? Like it's going to stay open forever and ever? I agree with everything Seth said, but is there a plan for Mariah Mitchell on that property, or is it going to be able forever open, which is what most of the land is becoming on that side? Or maybe you don't know.
You're talking about 28 Washington, the land bank
Yeah,
property?
where the buildings are coming from, and that I agree with Seth, it
Yes.
is an historic structure.
Yes, so that's for the land bank did not tell us what their plans are, so I cannot speak for that. But I've been like the project here is to deliver the property free of structures to the land bank. If they decide to
Mr.
have
Chairman,
Yes.
if
Yeah.
the,
I was
if
just, he can finish. I just have another question for you.
if they decide to do a future project, that will be back in front of you. That is the land bank. So, but there's no current plan that I'm aware of for the project, and I'm not the land bank engineer, so I couldn't answer the question.
Thank you, Mr. Sarati. Yes.
Ian, on the lots that are completely empty, that are eroding pretty badly up on Baxter Road, wasn't there a caveat that once they move those houses off there, that they'd be forever green? They could not build on them again?
Right.
I would be amenable to that on this, but maybe we're too early for that question.
Well, that's an interesting legal question. It's slightly different. Seth?
Yeah, let's clarify that, because the condition isn't that they're unbuildable. It's that if the structure that existed on that property was eligible for pre-1978 coastal engineering protection and is moved off, then that is no longer. So in the future, if the property owner wanted to build a coastal engineering structure in that lot, and try to base it on the fact there was a pre-1978 structure there, they wouldn't have that available to them. They would have to go through the waiver process for that, but they still can do it. They just need to use a different process. But I think that's really not the focus of this application today anyway.
Okay, I just didn't know if we could go there.
All right. So, any further questions for Mr. Sarati? And yes, Seth, I see your hand up.
Not for Mr. Sarati, but if you'll give me some leniency, it's for our staff.
Of course.
Thank you. So, when someone applies for order of conditions, it's for 3 years and then could potentially be extended to 6 years. So is there a way to add conditions related to the temporary use that gives us more of a either monitoring component or of a some type of role? I know obviously we can do the things that I talked about, saying that use can't become permanent, but I don't want that structure to be there sitting there on cribbing for 6 years. I think that's definitely going to cause an impact to the resource area. So do you know of anything that exists to us, Will?
I don't necessarily see a problem technically with linking some sort of like monitoring to how long the structure's there or anything, if that's what you're saying, to exclude it from being extended for another 3 years. But to have 100% certainty on that, I'd probably have to get back to you.
So, Mr. Sarati, did I see your hand go up?
Yeah, I just want to say, like, the intent of the relocation of that ticket booth is for future use for a different project by the owner, but that's not in front of you today. And I don't even know the details of that project, what they're gonna do with it. But we will be back, or they will be back in front of you for that project. That will incorporate that structure that they wanna save. I also wanna mention that we are proposing to place the ticket booth in an area that's currently used as a parking lot. We're not proposing to remove any vegetation whatsoever to place it. It's going to be into, I think it's a dirt or gravel parking lot right now.
Thank you, Mr. Sarahi. Mark?
Yes, thank you again. And I would suggest, again, by you, for our staff benefit, we should, in my opinion, have a time limit on the length that that ticket booth can be there. I share Seth's concern about damage to the resource area. So I think it should be, and again, it's going to be tricky wording. We don't normally do this. And I don't know if we can do it, but it's on my mind to have that be a drop dead date to get it off there.
I don't see why we can't word it in such a way that they would have to come back before us to extend the permission to have it there. And I see that both Will and Seth had their hands up. Will, do you have a definitive answer at this point?
No, I wish I did.
Okay.
But I was just going to say I have a very strong feeling that there's a way that we could figure that out, but I would request that we have a little time to write that condition and make it legitimate.
Right. So we have plenty of time to write the conditions if necessary. Seth?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I understand what Mr. Sarati is saying in reference to that. The owner intends to apply for a future project at that site, which is fine. But we all know that permitting takes a long time, and that we need to consider the impacts of this project on its own. And, you know, there are wetland scenic views impacts of having that structure be up in cribbing for extended periods of time. The applicant seems to think that there's no impact to the ability of the land to absorb and contain floodwaters because it's elevated. But even the fact of there being cribbing on the ground and then a heavy structure on top of it pushing down, compacting the soil, I mean, that might not be a huge impact, but that is an impact. It is definitely reducing the ability of the land to absorb and contain floodwaters. So I understand the reuse. I am totally on board with that. I understand the intent to make it temporary. I'm just saying we need to have strong conditions into place to make sure that this process gets moved along. So thank you.
So Seth, are you open to the suggestion that the Maria Mitchell Foundation Association comes back with another suggestion to store it somewhere else? I would imagine they'd be able to.
They do not have another space for it. That's the space that they currently have for that structure.
Yeah, if I may, Mr. Chair, I don't think that request is within the scope of this application. So, you know, we're able to deny projects if reasonable alternatives could be provided, but asking for them to do it off-site that's at a different location not being applied for isn't really within our capacity right here, unfortunately.
Right. So I guess I was asking you, are you planning to reject this unless, you know, so I was asking in a
No, I'm fine with it moving forward as long as it's conditioned in a way that we're minimizing impacts as much as
Okay.
possible, given that there are impacts and it needs to be wavered and it needs to be conditioned to minimize those impacts.
All right. So, Mr. Sarahi, I don't think there are any more questions. I should be sad to see it go personally, as my children used to go there. And, but there we have it. So would you care to close?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I want to say is if you want to put a time limit, if you can say 2 years, and after that, should that building need to remain longer, they would come back to the Conservation Commission to extend it And if you decide not to extend it, that would be the end of it. But if you decide to extend it, they'll be able to keep it longer. That would be the request.
Thank you. I think we'll take that into account in the orders of conditions. And so on that note, would someone like to make a motion to close? Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Joe, by roll call vote. Mark Beal,
Aye.
Seth Engelborg,
Aye.
Mike Mazzarelli.
Aye. We didn't get any questions from the public, but I don't know if that was necessary.
Thank you for pointing that out. I didn't see any hands raised. But that does bring up a point to Will. Will, since I'm not a co-host, am I seeing all the hands up or not?
You should be, but I also have my eyes on there's only 2 attendees in the public list, but I do have my eyes on that.
So Mike Mazzarelli was aye. Thank you.
Not at all, Mike, and thank you. I keep on saying that I should be the co-host, but staff feels differently. So apparently.
We have, I'm sorry, I'm interrupting. We have someone covering at NCTV tonight. It's unrelated.
Okay. So Joe Plandowski.
Aye.
Thank you, sir. Linda Williams.
Aye.
Ian Golding, aye, with Tim Brain recused. So thank you, Mr. Sarati.
Thank you.
So that brings us on to Nantucket Islands Land Bank, 80 Comet Avenue. Rachel?
Good evening, Mr. Chair. My name is Rachel Freeman, and I'm representing the Nantucket Islands Land Bank tonight on a notice of intent to place a memorial rock in a meadow at 80 Comet Ave. This area is adjacent to Comet Pond and has considered has the following resource areas. It's considered bordering vegetated wetland, as well as an inland bank, and is immediately on the edge of land subject to flooding. As of right now, we have positioned the rock outside the 25-foot buffer, and so it is not within land subject to flooding. And the rock itself is rather large in that it's 42 inches by 36 inches, and by 20 inches, it will be engraved, and it's actually to honor Edie Ray. And this site is not within designated natural heritage habitat, so therefore we are not waiting on a review of this application. I am happy to answer any questions if the commission has any regarding the installation of this rock.
Commissioners, any questions? Using Gaudo or Old English or Gothic? Is that within our purview? Sorry, Rachel, just being me. Any questions? Any questions from members of the public?
Negative.
Okay. Rachel, you'd like to close, obviously?
Yes, please.
Excellent. Motion to close. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Tim. By roll call vote, Mark Beal.
Aye.
Tim Brain.
Aye.
Seth Engelborg.
Aye.
Mike Mazzarelli.
Aye.
Joe Plandowski.
Go Rock. Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
Ian Golding, aye. And let me see. So both the other ones are continued, Rachel, aren't they? So thank you.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah. So this brings us on to amended orders of conditions. Island Harbor Farm LLC, 6 New Whale Street. And Mr. Santos.
And he may be in an airport right now, so I'm kind of the backup. I'm Katie Barnacle from Ilex Environmental, and
Hi,
I see
Katie.
Paul is on.
Okay.
So if he can't plug in, then I will just continue, if that's okay with everybody.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Will.
Katie,
So-
I'm here, but I'm just getting off the plane. So if you could
okay,
take.
no worries. I'll take care of it, Paul. Safe travels. Thank you. Yes, this is the site of the tank farm, and this is the order of conditions that was issued back in 2021 to remove the tanks at 6 New Whale Street. That has been accomplished, and we did request an extension of these orders back in April because it was going to expire this June. And we still have some additional work to do, and that's basically what's in front of you tonight. And because this work was not necessarily included in the previous order of conditions, we're requesting an amended order of conditions tonight. And what that amendment is to allow for the placement of gravel along within the entire site, except for where the 2 new tanks are. You know, all the tanks have been removed, and then we did install 2 new above ground tanks in the lower left-hand corner in order to service the Nantucket boat basin. So the remainder of the site will be covered with gravel. And when the original order of conditions was submitted, that had not been envisioned yet what the final cover was going to be. And so we're proposing the gravel to be placed. This area is going to be used for water dependent parking associated with the boat basin, and also off-season storage for some of the construction that's going on at the boat basin and the adjacent areas. But mostly it's to support the water dependent use out there. And we also are proposing in the center to have a stormwater, an informal stormwater drain, so that all drainage is directed to the center of that and no stormwater runoff will leave the site. And in addition, in order to meet special condition 19, that was as part of the original order of conditions, the walls are still there that encased the that surrounded the tank farm. And we have an opening now to be able to come and go into the area, to be able to use the area. But because of the history of the site, the commission wanted that area to be closed off during storm events. And so we do have what do they call the tough walls on the site, so that if a storm is being proposed where we think this area may be flooded, we can put those tough walls. You know, they're those big plastic kind of Jersey barrier looking things. We can move that across the front of where the opening is to close it off, so that no surface water will drain off the site. So everything's kind of enclosed or encased on the site. Let's see, the site is inland, subject to coastal storm flowage, and a little bit is within the buffer zone. The easternmost portion is within the buffer zone to the coastal bank, which is basically the bulkheads adjacent to the boat basin. And we did provide some stormwater report, and we request an amended order of conditions for this work.
Thank you, Kate.
Thank you.
Questions from commissioners? So thank you, Will. The Mark.
Thank you. Yeah. Question for Ms. Barnacle. You use the words parking and water dependent use. Are you planning to condition the installation of gravel as a water dependent use based upon parking?
The area will be used just for water dependent uses supporting the boat basin, because we are in all Chapter 91 territory, so we have to be very careful about what we use the area for. So the placement of the gravel is to allow the percolation of any rainfall that hits the site back into the site, so that we don't have like a paved surface area where we need to do more structured runoff. I don't know if that answered your question.
Well, my question is parking a water dependent use?
Parking can be a water dependent use. If it's associated with a water dependent use, it can be considered a water dependent use. It isn't necessarily a water
That's what I
dependent
was,
use.
that's what I was
Yeah,
getting at.
yeah, sorry, I didn't catch that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I have a question, Katie. Perhaps you can refresh my memory, but in standard number 5 for land uses with high potential pollutant loads,
Yes.
was I forget if there was an analysis done, and was there any remedial work needed?
Back when the original order was issued, that was a VHB notice of intent for Winthrop. They had a RAM plan, and I'm sorry if I have that wrong, the release abatement measures, because they assumed that because of the historical use of the site with oil and hazardous, the oil and the gas tanks, that there would likely be some type of remediation. It's my understanding that they found PFAS there, which has been remediated and closed out with Mass DEP. That's all been taken care of. And that there's some petroleum product that was found in an isolated area that is proposed to be remediated. And that would be part of some other submittal that would be submitted to you. Another consultant is working on that, but that's not part of this project. So it was a relatively decent site compared to the history of the use out there.
That's interesting, because as a teenager, I worked when Beinecke was developing that lot.
Yep.
Lyle Rickard, a plumber, and someone was using a pickaxe for excavation and struck a rock. And basically there was a minor explosion because of the gases from the fuel oil residue or whatever it was.
Yep.
So I'm slightly surprised to hear that that area is relatively unscathed. Do you know when we're getting a final report?
I don't know when that is going to happen, but I do know that Mass DEP is involved and other consultants where that's their bailiwick. I'm not a hazardous waste person, but certainly this area is being, well, one of the things they had to do as part of the removal of the tanks is once the tanks were removed, then they could test the site, because it's hard to test what's going on when those tanks were there. And so then they would develop or update that RAM plan. And then if a remediation system needed to be installed, then certainly the commission would be involved in something like that. But it's my understanding that it's an isolated petroleum product and it can be easily remediated. But that's my interpretation. It's not my technical it's not my technical expertise, so I apologize. I don't have that.
Oh, cool. And thank you for answering that.
Sure.
And Seth, I see your hand up for Mark.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just on the question of water dependent use, just at least in the context of our bylaw and local regulations, parking and temporary storage of construction equipment definitely does not qualify as a water dependent use. That being said, I'm not sure it matters because if you look at the resource areas on site, I mean, the 100-foot buffer zone to the coastal bank, the bulkhead in this area extends on the part of the site, and the land subject to coastal storm flowage extends onto the whole site. But there's nothing that would prohibit a pervious surface. Essentially, they're asking to put a pervious gravel surface down. That's what they're asking for. There's nothing that would prohibit those in those areas, but it's certainly not a water dependent use. Thank you.
I apologize for that confusion. I live in a Chapter 91 world a lot, and that's typically the language that I use. But I should have added that phrase to describe that further. That's what I was going for, the Chapter 91 water dependent use.
Well, thank you both for the clarification. And but we didn't grant waivers for this back when it was first before us, did we, Seth? We didn't feel we needed to, or I really can't remember, to be honest with you. So I don't see it's relevant anyway here. Mark?
I'm good.
Okay. So excellent. So Katie, obviously, if there's no further questions from commissioners? A motion to approve this amended order of conditions as presented, please. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Joe. By roll call vote, Mark Beal,
Aye.
Tim Brain,
Aye.
Seth Engelborg,
Aye.
Mike Mazzarelli,
Aye.
Joe Pandowski,
Aye.
Linda Williams,
Aye.
Ian Golding, aye. Thank you, Katie.
Great, thank you. I did not see this on the list of orders of conditions to be addressed later tonight, so I just wanted to just mention if you
No?
wouldn't mind working on that, that would be great. Okay,
Okay.
thank you very much.
Yeah,
I think we just issued it
You
since
just
it's an
did, yeah.
amended order, so there's no later.
you're free and clear.
Okay,
All right.
send it
wonderful,
to
thank
you.
you.
Enjoy the evening.
Thank you.
All right. So this brings us on to a request for determination of applicability. Bach 28 Shimo Pond Road. And David Haynes, Esquire, with another fancy tie.
Yeah,
Oh,
you like that? It's
I
a
do,
good
I
tie,
do.
isn't it?
Yes,
Too bad Arthur isn't here. We always compared ties, and
very good.
and Diane McCall would judge us and
Okay.
give us various numbers. Anyway, I'm superstitious. I've been coming before you guys for a while, and I've always, well, every conservation commission I've ever gone to, I've always worn a tie. And next
Well, you're
coat and
putting
tie.
the rest of us to shame.
No, not really. This is a request for determination for resource area delineation confirmation. It's a property at 28 Shimo Pond Road with a house, garage, driveway, and lawn area, and it slopes down steeply to Shimo Pond. And it's got there's another name for that pond. And which is off-site on Conservation Foundation land. There's a bordering vegetated wetland along the pond on the Conservation Foundation property. And then because of the slope, there is a coastal bank at the limit of land subject coastal storm flowage elevation 8. And it barely comes onto the property. However, the 50 and the 100 foot zones do extend, verify, adjust as necessary the delineations as shown. The coastal bank, because of the slope, is between 4-1 and 10-1. The coastal bank would be the 100-year flood elevation of 8. With that, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Questions? Recommendations from staff?
Real quickly, can everybody hear me?
We can.
Okay, I had a text that I was having some potential difficulties, but so went out there last week, very familiar with this property from a past life. But I was recommending a positive 2A. The resource areas as delineated are very accurate to me. And that would be a positive 2A. And I swear, Seth, I checked 3 times.
You're good. That's all we need today.
So, Will, as a past life, are you referring to when you were a turtle or
well,
an unusual?
I'll leave it to imagination. I was some sort of amphibious reptile.
Okay. All right. So
old Bartlett clients.
So a motion to approve this determination of applicability is plus 2A.
So moved.
Thank you, Seth. Thank you, Joe. By roll call vote, Mark Beal.
Aye.
Tim Brain.
Aye.
Seth Engelborg.
Aye.
Mike Mazzarelli.
Aye.
Joe Pandowski.
Aye.
Linda Williams.
Aye.
Ian Golding, aye. And then we have a second request for determination of applicability, and that's Low Shimo Nominee Trust, 42 Shimo Pond Road. Art?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Very similar to your last application, a little further down the road to the east. We are not proposing any work. We're simply seeking to confirm the resource area delineations. Pretty complicated, relatively involved topography here with the flood zone intersecting with the landforms, and using DEP policy 92-1 to determine where the coastal banks exist. And along the shoreline, there's a timber structure for a portion of that, which is in fact a portion of the top of the coastal bank. And then there's also a piece of the bank up on the east end of the property. You have land subject to coastal storm flowage following elevation 8, which is shown as the dashed line that goes through the house and off to the northeast corner of the property. And then on the property to the south, abutting Pest House Pond, because the flood zone extends into that pond, and that slope is also determined to be a coastal bank. So sort of have a ring of resource areas, if you will. And of course, there's coastal beach, and then extending out land under the ocean, but primarily focused on the topography and the establishment of the coastal bank.
Great.
That's it.
Thank you, sir. Any questions from commissioners? And staff, your recommendation?
Yep. I appreciate you guys making these right next to each other and making it hard for me to mix up the number codes. This one was also a positive 2A, accurately depicted delineations. That is it.
Great. A motion to approve the determination of applicability is a positive 2A, please. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Mike. By roll call vote, Mark Beal.
Aye.
Kim Brain.
Aye.
Steph Engelborg.
Aye.
Mike Mazzarelli.
Aye.
Joe Pandowski.
Aye.
Linda Williams.
Aye.
Ian Golding, aye. That brings us on to minor mods. Red House LLC, 88 Quidnet Road. Brian?
I
Oh,
think
Yeah.
I think it's me, but
Yeah,
Oh.
not me.
okay. It's not.
oh, Brian, you want to do it? You can go ahead. 88 Quidnet Road. This is an application for a minor mod, or a request for a minor mod at 88 Quidnet Road, where there was an order of conditions for the property that had expired. We filed a new notice of intent last winter, I believe, to revive it. And the order of conditions allowed for landscaping. The original house was moved back and reconstructed, moved back farther from the resource areas of coastal dune. The lawn area from the previous house extended right up to the dune, and it's the area. What we're asking for is in the lawn area to construct a bluestone drive laid patio, and a portion of it does extend slightly into the 50-foot zone, but it is all within existing lawn. It is considered landscaping. Landscaping was included in the order of conditions, but this wasn't specified. So now we're trying to formalize that and specify it. And part of the reason we're doing it is that we want to raise it up a foot or so to eliminate the need for a stairway to come down and go inside of the 50. So it's all work within originally approved area of work, and also does not require a waiver. It is not considered a structure, and there is some additional plantings that are proposed in that area. But with that, I'll take any questions.
Thank you, David. Yes, Seth.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So David, are you saying that the patio is going to be raised, or are you saying that there's going to be fill added to have the patio at grade but be higher?
It's just basically to level it out a little bit. and it's only about a foot or so of change in grade. I think they're taking from one area and putting it back and smoothing it out. I think it's just leveling it. But it does allow for the stairway that's coming down not to encroach into the 50-foot no structure zone.
Okay, thank you.
And
Thank you.
do we have conditions attached to the patio? In other words, that is laid with enough drainage? Is
I
that
mean, it's
something
a standard
that we need to do this?
standard language. I mean, excuse me. Are you asking me or are you asking Will?
Well, actually, I was just, I guess, making an indirect observation that as a minor mod, I still would like to see that incorporated, unless you can give us an assurance on the part of your client that it would be laid to our guidelines.
I mean, if we can condition it, what I mean, we usually recommend for situations like this is like a 6-inch layer of gravel, and then a half an inch between all the stones, so water can go down through.
Right.
And
right.
if you want to put that in the conditions, that's great for me.
Okay.
I don't want any confusion.
Is that duly noted, Will?
Indeed.
Thank you.
So, never mind the so, sorry.
All right. Thus spake staff. I guess I would propose an approval of this minor mod with conditions of our usual conditions attached to the construction of the bluestone patio. Does that meet with Commissioner's approval? And if so, would you like to make a motion to that effect? Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Joe. By roll call vote, Mark Beal.
Aye.
Tim Brain.
Aye.
Seth Engelborg.
Aye.
Thank you, sir. Mike Mazzarelli.
Aye.
Joe Pandowski.
Aye.
Linda Williams.
Aye.
Ian Golding, aye. Thank you, David. Sorry for the confusion.
No, sorry, and everybody have a great holiday weekend. Enjoy the Vagawi.
Looks like you're on
Hardly.
a boat. You want a boat?
Are you
now?
going to be in the harbor?
Yes, I'm on a boat.
You're
I'm
on
the
your boat right now.
I'm on my boat.
All right. Well, there you go.
Actually, I could see the last project that in the tank farm is right over my shoulder.
Well, party hardy.
No,
Let 'em
I'm not.
match.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Bye
take
bye.
care. So that's certificates of compliance. Key Bank National Association, 14 Washington Pond Road. Art?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a coastal bank stabilization project with the fiber rolls permitted some time ago, and everything's in good shape. There's a little bit of a challenging spot on the far western end of the property where there is, a bulkhead that's been in front of you on an adjacent property for some time, some gabions. But it's not really related to this project. And this project, all the rolls are covered and the sand is in place, and everything looks good.
Great, thank you. Will, have you been out there?
Yes, sir. Everything is as we are seeing on the plan. I do have about 8 million continuing conditions whenever we get there.
All right. That's an unusual motion to approve. of compliance with 8 million conditions, but
Well, continuing conditions, that's normal.
all right. A motion as such, do I see any hands going up?
No, we need to hear the conditions that are being continued.
Oh, what a stickler. Okay. Linda, I guess we're not going to break any records here, but anyway.
Well, there's still hope.
Okay, so we'll go ahead.
All right.
You want to put them up?
Oh, you need me to read them out?
Well, can you put them up on
do.
the screen? Is that easier for you?
I'll read them out. Give me 1 second, guys. Sorry.
Okay.
I have the numbers written down. That's it.
Okay.
Very easy though. I'd also like to happily say we're way ahead of my estimated schedule, so.
Good. Good.
All right. So, I'm not kidding. There's a few. All right. So we are going to continue 15. The only work areas permitted by this order include the land specific to the project areas shown on the plan of record. No work is to be performed outside of this area. 18, photographs of the project area are required quarterly, and in addition, photographs shall be required to be submitted demonstrating the condition of the entire project area within 24 hours of each storm event. 19, all structure materials such as the core logs, posts, and anchors shall be marked for identification. Distinguishing marks shall include tagging of plastic and branding of wood or metal. 20, the applicant shall be responsible for retrieving any and all materials stored, dislodged, or washed off site for the life of the project. 23, nourishment is required to be maintained to the volume specified in the plan of record and provided narratives. All nourishment sands are to be bank compatible sand. The applicant shall provide the commission with a grain size analysis from each sand source being used for the nourishment prior to the delivery of the beach to the beach. Following the installation of any post-construction nourishment, a new detailed as built by a licensed surveyor or engineer must be provided to the commission.
So let's let everybody read this. We won't put you through this. I think it's fairly easy to read. Thank you for putting it on the screen. And I've already got down to 33. Prior to the start of work, the mean high water line should be staked and shall serve, but I can't quite see the next line. And there we go. Thank you. And then back up to number 34, 35, and 36. Great.
I'm going to see if I can get some of the other, sorry.
I think everybody's happy with this, are they not? So
yeah, yes.
Great, thank you. So let's have a motion to approve the certificate of compliance. And thank you, Mike. Thank you, Tim. By roll call vote, Mark Beal.
Aye.
Tim Brain.
Aye.
Seth Engelborg.
Aye, with the ongoing conditions that Will's identified.
Mike Mazzarelli.
Aye.
Joe Pandowski.
Aye.
Linda Williams.
Aye.
Ian Golding, aye. That brings us on to, thank you, Art, but I think you're up again, right, for Sandburst MV LLC, 67 Squam Road.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I'm before you tonight with a certificate of compliance for a project that involves some native plantings, and the plantings have been installed.
Great. Thank you. Are there any conditions attached to that, Will, that we should be aware of?
So much easier. No, none.
And watering.
And everything is as it should be, and there are no continuing conditions.
Classical music 3 times a week at sunset. Okay, thank you. So a motion to approve the certificate of compliance, please. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Tim. By roll call vote, Mark Beal.
Aye.
Tim Brain.
Aye.
Seth Engelborg.
Aye.
Mike Mazzarelli.
Aye.
Joe Pandowski.
Aye.
Linda Williams.
Aye.
Ian Golding, aye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Art. And then we have a reissue here for Keating, 49 Red Barn Road. Will?
Yes, simply a reissue. Trying to share my screen. Right here. All we need is a vote to reissue this one. This is a permit from, can't even remember at this point. Who can read that? We do simply just need a vote
Okay,
for this order from 2019.
all right.
I have to recuse from this, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, duly noted, Linda. Thank you. So a motion to approve. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Mark, by roll call vote. Mark Beal,
Aye.
Tim Brain,
Aye.
Seth Engelborg,
Aye.
Mike Mazzarelli,
Aye.
Joe Plandowski,
Aye.
Ian Golding with aye, with Linda Williams recused. That brings us on to orders of conditions. And the first one, I believe, I've sort of lost track, forgive me. But let me see, the first one I believe is Glenby LLC, 33 Monahan Avenue.
That's right.
And thank you, Will, for sending those out as an email. Did everybody get a chance to see that? Or here
You
we
probably
have it in front of
didn't.
us again. Okay.
It was sent by Will very late because it was never sent. But they are in your inbox. Happy to share each of these as
Great.
we are going through. But 33 Nonantum, this was an order for permitting the installation of beach access stairs and snow fencing with associated landscaping and grading within coastal bank and coastal beach. Am I remembering correctly? We no longer have the snow fencing related.
Yeah, that was removed.
This is old. All right. And the rest, we just have our conditions 18 and 19. Obviously, the date is changing. But if there's anything else that
You'd
we
want
see
to
there.
remove the and, Will.
There we go.
There you go. I'm on tenterhooks for a date.
Oh, I leave that for Lisa. That's
very
the
well.
final issue date. Sorry.
Okay, okay. A motion to approve is drafted, please. Thank you, Joe. I can't see everybody, so I'm not sure
Mark.
who seconded it. Is that Mark? Thank you, Mark. By roll call vote, Mark Beal,
Aye.
Tim Brain,
Aye.
Steph Engelborg,
Aye.
Mike Mazzarelli,
Aye.
Joe Plandowski,
Aye.
Linda Williams,
Aye.
Ian Golding, aye. And that brings us on to Olmsted 50 Walwinet Road with Mike and Linda recused. So
For 50 Walnut Road, we had filled up the wrong line. Order permits the construction of a detached garage with associated landscaping and grading. We had our NHESP and 18, 19 in our exterior lighting condition. And I'll stop the share. Let me know if anybody has any
suggestions? I'm seeing none. A motion to approve is drafted, please. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Tim. by roll call vote, Mark Beal,
Aye.
Tim Brain,
Aye.
Seth Engelborg,
Aye.
Joe Pandowski,
Aye.
Ian Golding, aye, with Mike Mazzarelli and Linda Williams recused. And that brings us on to Crona 5 Old Quidnet Milk Route.
Right at 5 Old Quidnet Milk Route. This was our solar panel installation. We had NHESP 1819. That is it. Fixing those dates too, but
Okay. Any comments by commissioners? Seeing none, a motion to approve is drafted, please. Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Mark. By roll call vote, Mark Beal,
Aye.
Tim Brain,
Aye.
Seth Engelborg,
Aye.
Mike Mazzarelli,
Aye.
Jeff Pandowski,
Aye.
Ian Williams,
Aye.
Ian Golding, aye. That brings us on to 16 Monomoy Road, nominee trust, 16 Monomoy Road.
and 16 Monomoy was for the extension of the existing elevated walkway on site. Of 11 feet. NHESP 1819. Is there anything else specifically that we'd like to pop on this one?
No, I wish they all looked like that.
Right?
Anyway, so a motion to approve is drafted, please. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Tim. By roll call vote, Mark Beal,
Aye.
Tim Brain,
Aye.
Seth Engelborg,
Aye.
Mike Mazzarelli,
Aye.
Joe Pandowski,
Aye.
Linda Williams,
Aye.
Ian Golding, aye. Let me see. Nantucket Islands Land Bank, 101 Myacomet Avenue.
Dropping stuff. So this order permits the demolition and removal of an existing dilapidated shed. Once again, we did have a waiver for the shed removal work proposed within the 25-foot buffer. But we have a resulting net benefit to the resource area for removal of the nasty shed. Condition 18 and 19, I don't believe anything else is needed. Let me know.
No. The motion to approve is drafted. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Tim. By roll call vote, Mark Beal,
Aye.
Tim Brain,
Aye.
Seth Engelborg,
Aye.
Mike Mazzarelli,
Aye.
Joe Pandowski,
Aye.
Linda Williams,
Aye.
Ian Golding, aye. Barry at 26 North Cambridge Street.
It's opening. There we go. All right. 26 North Cambridge Street permits the reconstruction of a single-family dwelling, removal of existing structures within the 25-foot buffer zone, and revegetation of disturbed areas with associated grading. The area, we had no NHESP. We had the waiver for the relocation of the existing structure within the 25. Finds that the increased setbacks to resource areas on site, redesign of the existing structures to include flood vents and revegetation of disturbed buffer zone will result in a net benefit to the resource area. I think we also
Okay,
Just adding that all seedings and plantings shall be native species with no cultivars, but if there's anything else,
Yeah, let's add a lighting condition for the rebuild there.
easy peasy. And I've got that one, I'll add it on, but just if there's anything else while I'm opening that up.
Would you like to make a motion to approve as amended, Seth?
Yes,
Lighting
Mr. Chair.
condition is officially there.
So moved.
Thank you. Seconded by Joe. Thank you, Joe. By roll call vote, Mark Deal,
Aye.
Tim Brain,
Aye.
Seth Engelberg,
Aye.
Mike Mazzarelli,
Aye.
Joe Pandowski,
Aye.
Linda Williams,
Aye.
Ian Golding, aye. And that brings us on to non-Atom 25 LLC, 25 non-Atom Avenue. Yeah.
Beach stairs. Beach stairs, seasonal beach stairs at 25 Nonantum. Conditions 18-19, no waivers. NHESP positive. That is it.
Excellent. A motion to approve is drafted. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Tim. By roll call vote, Mark Beal,
Aye.
Tim Brain,
Aye.
Seth Engelborg,
Aye.
Mike Mazzarelli,
Aye.
Joe Pandowski,
Aye.
Linda Williams,
Aye.
Ian Golding, aye. Golden Sunshine Realty Trust, 100 Cliff Road.
Gotcha. Just for the record, on the one I sent out, I hadn't assigned a NAN number yet. This is NAN 139, local bylaw only. Order permits the construction of an addition to the existing dwelling with associated grading utilities. No NHESP, additional finding that it's a bylaw only filing. And then had conditions 18-19. I would like to pop the lighting condition.
Okay.
And that is it. I never shared it. I'm sorry, guys.
That's all right. We trust you.
Will's tired, but here it is.
There we go. See, I know our trust was well founded. A motion to approve is amended. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Joe. By roll call vote, Mark Deal. Mark, by roll call vote.
Aye. Sorry.
Thanks, sir. Tim Brain,
Aye.
Seth Engelborg,
Aye.
Mike Mazzarelli,
Aye.
Joe Pandowski,
Aye.
Linda Williams,
Aye.
Ian Golding, aye. So that brings us on to the Mariah Mitchell Association, 28 and 33 Washington Street. We want to put on our thinking cap.
I'm
and-
more comfortable this than I was when I spoke.
Well, we have 21 days, don't we? So if we want to run it through our brightest legal minds, or Seth.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, if you want to wait to issue, that's fine, but I was hoping that we could have some discussion today, so Will can add some things in here.
Absolutely. Lead off.
First is that in the draft you sent out, it says no waivers are required. I think that's factually incorrect. I think multiple waivers are required here, both for the work at 28 Washington, for the work in the coastal dune and buffer zone, and also for the placement of the building in the 50-foot buffer zone at 33. So we need to update that.
I don't know what happened there. I remember that clearly in the application. I'm not sure how that.
And I think we do need to have a discussion about what waiver or waivers would be applicable there, because it's sort of an interesting case where, I don't see it as necessarily as a long-term net benefit. It could be but it's hard to, yeah, I think we have to have that discussion as a commission. Or we can let you, Jeff, and whoever else think about that.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm speaking out of turn, aren't I?
No,
Uh, I agree. Because you're leaving a property in a vacant state, but we don't know what's next. So if there's a but at the same time, I'm not sure if it's that sort of thing that we only have the information that we have. So if it's a net benefit now, but that's a really good question.
Yeah, my point is more like you are doing some beneficial things by removing the structures in the coastal dune, but then you're putting them into a vegetated wetland buffer. So I don't know if that's a long-term net benefit, but we can think about that. Mr. Chair, if I may have some more points.
absolutely, Seth.
All right, so I think in findings, we should have a finding related to the temporary storage of the structure that says, like the extended, or this isn't the right word, but basically says that the structure being in the temporary location for an extended period of time will have impacts related to, wetland scenic views and the ability of the land to absorb and contain floodwaters. And then I think we should have some conditions related to that finding. The first is a time limit for how long the structure can be in its temporary state without requiring a new notice of intent or an amendment to this notice of intent. I think we wanted to debate as a commission about what a suitable time is. We can do that in a second. And then the other ones are requiring some just regular reporting and monitoring about the structure with photographs showing that it's still in the place that it is without any unintended impacts for stormwater or rainwater, whatever it may be. And then the condition I said during the hearing itself, indicating that the allowance of a structure in this temporary location does not permit any future structure to be in that location, and that any future structure proposed within this buffer zone will require a new notice of intent.
So,
I'm,
yes,
I'm just taking notes, guys. Sorry.
yeah, not at all. Yes, Mike.
So first off, thank you to Seth for raising all these very important points. I forgot the name of the presenter, so forgive me for that. But he had asked for two years, and then I guess we have the option to do it for the length of the permit for up to 3 years for the temporary structure. So I would gather that would be at least in the 2-year category for the permitted time frame that it's allowed to be there.
Right. I do find it a bit puzzling that why they don't, if they're looking for somewhere else to dispose of it, then they can certainly in a year do so. And I would hate to see it actually dismantled. I'd be happy to put it on my property if necessary to keep it. It sounds like it's of real historic interest. But so I'm a bit confused, I guess is the word. So Seth, if you don't mind, Mark had his hand up first.
I don't mind, but it is related to your specific point, so I'll defer to you.
Well, Mark, do you mind?
Go ahead, Seth.
Yeah, thank you, Seth, please.
So, yeah, well, first of all, I'm sure they're going to be calling you to take you up on the offer to put the building on your property now. But so I am aware of, because of processes outside the Conservation Commission or that haven't been heard yet, that obviously the Mariah Mitchell Association has gone through processes and is planning to submit a larger, completely redesigned building for that site, and that they are planning to incorporate this ticket booth into that new facility. Obviously, that would have to be permitted through this commission and multiple other commissions on Nantucket. But we can't really,
Right.
interact with that at this point. We just have to make sure that we mitigate for the temporary impact by making sure it doesn't become a permanent impact.
Okay, so is there a general consensus to abide by Mr. Sarati's suggestion that we limit it to 2 years before they come before us again? Thank you, Mike. And Mark, you had your hand up.
Yeah, no, I was going to suggest that agreeing with Mike about having a 2-year, and if they need a 3rd year, which I hope they won't, they come back to us. But I would hope they begin to have settled plans within a year, I would think.
Right.
So
Right.
don't know. It's not our job, but I think 2 years is appropriate.
Thank you. Linda?
I don't know where to go. I had heard that there was an overall, like Seth, there was an overall plan for that one across the street, utilizing the old train station ticket thing across the street. So I don't think it's going anywhere, but I don't think they're going to destroy it because if I recall, I don't think the HCC allowed it to be destroyed, but moved. Okay. So if the 2-year time limit is good, then I'll go along with that. I'd like to see it shorter for them to come up with a plan, but there was an overall campus plan for across the street.
Interesting. Thank you. Seth?
Thank you. And if people wish to go Linda's route and have a shorter timeline, then the applicant could always apply for an amendment to that timeline if they aren't able to. So, if we say 1 year, 1.5 years, and they can't meet that, then they can always apply for an amendment. So if people prefer a shorter timeline, I'm not necessarily opposed to it. I personally think these permitting processes take a really long time. I don't even know if they'll be ready to submit something in 2 years. Hopefully they will, but if we want to prefer erring on the side of caution and using a shorter timeline, then let's use a shorter timeline.
A general feeling for 1 or 2?
1.
2. Sorry.
1.
It takes a year. I mean, I agree with Seth. It takes a year to do anything from a permit standpoint, and then they still have to make a move on the building. It's just.
So, Linda, I think you're outvoted on this.
Well, at least if after a year they'd have to come back and tell us what's going on.
But the commission's not busy enough. But
so, if I may, Mr. Chair.
Yes, you may, Seth.
So I think
So
I think we can certainly require a condition that says an annual monitoring report updating us on the status of future applications is required, so that we have a timeline before us.
Thank you.
Does that meet with your approval, Linda?
Marginally, yes.
Right. Okay. So yes, sir. Yes,
I'll
Will.
make this quick, sorry. So would the intention be to extend this permit, or sorry, to put the time limit of 2 years, but my plan was no matter what, right, these are 3-year permits, so we'll put wording in that if the time needs to be extended at all, they shall come in and apply for an amendment to the order, whether it's 1 or 2. Is that
so? I
still...
think the consensus is to make it for 2 years before they come in for amended order, but they have to report progress at the end of a year.
Right.
Along with everything else that you're going to be asked to wordsmith and put your legal hat on, and then we'll come to we'll approve of a certificate of compliance. Very good.
My
Very
legal hat.
I like it. So, all right, thank you, everybody. So that's going to be continued until the 6th. And that brings us to Nantucket Islands Land Bank, 80 My Comet Road. So, what do we have for that?
Significantly
Memorial Rock.
easier. Yeah,
Okay.
significantly easier.
Okay.
So this
Large,
was our
large
Memorial
print,
Rock.
large print for the elderly to be able to read.
I don't know that specifying font or type size is within our, but we had the placement of the Memorial Rock within buffer zone to BVW and Inland Bank. I put conditions 18 and 19 on this. I struggle to see the need for anything else. But let me know.
No, I think it's, unless we want to keep seagull shit off it and put little spikes on it or something, I think a motion to approve is drafted will probably meet the challenge of this one. Any takers? Thank you. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Joe. By roll call vote, Mark Beal.
Aye.
Tim Brain.
Aye.
Seth Engelborg.
Aye.
Mike Mazzarelli.
Aye.
Joe Pandowski.
Aye.
Linda Williams.
And no self-respecting seagull is going to be that far away from the water in the middle of the forest.
You never know, but I
They'd
hope
have
you're
to be
right.
desperate. They'd have to be desperate to get that far.
Okay. The Ian Golding, aye. So that brings us on to no extensions of orders. So other business approval of minutes from March the 7th, 2024. Any, I assume everybody's read them. Any suggestions, comments, or a motion to approve? Thank you,
Motion to
Joe.
approve.
Thank
I
you,
have a
Mike.
question. I have a question.
Sorry, Joe. Go
Is
ahead.
that, I was in a meeting for 1 hour. I believe it was that one. I do not have, number one, I do not have the minutes from this meeting. And number two, there was a meeting that I was only in for 1 hour and left.
The
I
minutes
know.
were. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say, I know that we had it noted that you were only here an hour that day, but I would like to confirm on the minutes.
Then the minutes were downloadable within the packet.
Ah,
That's how I got to them.
Right. Now they're not coming through. I don't know what's happening to my iPad.
All that lightning earlier.
Well, it hit something because they went screaming out of the fire department.
Did they?
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty scary there for a while, about 10 minutes.
Pretty loud. Pretty loud. So I can't draw this up to confirm that. Can you, Will?
One moment. I've said that a lot tonight. I'm sorry. Got him. All right, let me just. So this was the one, Chair Golding was absent. Just want to make sure. And Joe.
So Joe, you joined after an hour. Is that what you're saying?
No,
You
I left
He
after
left.
an hour.
Really? Because apparently, according to this at the end, you were involved.
This
in
may
the
be a
adjournment.
different meeting.
No, this is the meeting, Joe. This is from March. This isn't from the last meeting.
Nope, yep.
This is from
I
the
see
point.
that.
Okay,
I
because
see that.
We're good.
those minutes we haven't gotten for April and the beginning of May yet.
But so March, something is wrong with these minutes because Joe is credited with being present.
I was
the minutes
there
are
for the
fine.
March one.
It's all good. That was a mix-up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he was
Yeah.
fine. He just wasn't here for one in April or the beginning of May, one of the two.
All right. Sorry, I misunderstood. So a motion to approve is presented. Please. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Joe. By roll call vote, Mark Beal,
Aye.
Tim Brain,
Aye.
Jeff Engelborg,
Aye.
Mike Mazzarelli,
Aye.
Joe Plendowski,
Aye.
Linda Williams,
Aye.
Ian Golding, aye. Monitoring reports.
Would anybody like to talk about monitoring reports that were sent out?
Not really.
I'll volunteer as CRC. We just had a recent meeting and gave away a lot of money. Give it away,
No,
indeed.
we're not on those yet.
Yeah.
We're not on those yet.
These are monitoring.
Those monitoring. Okay, sorry. 1,000 pardons.
Accepted. And, but, you're not talking about application reviews, Will. You're talking about monitoring reports? Because I
We
never,
were on monitoring reports, correct?
I never saw.
Yeah.
I was confused.
Well, all right. There we go. All right. Any comments? And hearing none. We'll go on to enforcement actions. So, Will.
Alrighty, so we have a pending enforcement order. Slightly complicated story, but we've had, and I think people are mostly aware of this, and we've been circulating the letters to the commission. So if you guys had a chance to read in, hopefully you have.
I have to recuse from this right up front.
Okay, this is for the summer house.
I got to recuse.
All right. So there have been complaints to multiple town departments about potential violations on 2 different addresses owned by the Summer House properties. We've been in communication with, representatives from both parties. There's a neighborhood association over there. I think most of us are quite familiar with the basic backstory. But we have been trying to establish really just the baseline facts. And without getting into too much detail, on a staff level, we don't feel comfortable really making a hard decision with any of what we've received as of today. I don't believe that we were going to be successful in making everybody happy in this situation on our own. So it very much appears to be something that we should discuss as a commission. But I've sent out the enforcement order essentially with pretty general language covering all the potential violations at the property. But after so much back and forth, Jeff and I don't feel like we are clear on how we can make a real determination without seeing some more from everybody, including like a current conditions as-built plan for the property. Not really sure how we're supposed to know what's going on without that. So my current recommendation on this, I don't know that it makes sense for us to ratify this tonight without knowing what we are really potentially enforcing on. And I think that it makes sense to request both parties' representatives to be at a meeting, you know, to be decided by us as a commission, potentially one of the meetings in June. Come back with more information so that we can figure out the story and what we'd like to see happen.
Thank you,
That is
Will.
it.
I see Seth's hand up and Mike's. Seth?
Mike was first, if you
Oh,
want.
was he? Oh, sorry. I beg your pardon, Mike. Fire away.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Seth. I'm a question for Will. Have you been out to visit the site yet? And it sounds like not physically. And then I would certainly support continuing for a public hearing at an upcoming meeting. By the sounds of it, I read through the letters and got the back and forth from the letters, but I'm wondering if you've been out there yet.
You're referring to the letters by Den Benedictus and the NLWC?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah. Seth? And before I recognize Seth, I mean, that seems like a very sensible suggestion, Mike. Thank you. Yes, Seth.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would request that not just Will, but the whole commission go and do a site visit of this property. I think it's likely, given the information that we do have available to us, that some, and perhaps not all, but some activities likely happened without benefit of a permit. And I think we should request that as-built conditions plan is delivered to the commission as along with any existing plot plans of record, and any past permitting history. I guess NRD has that, but we should compile it all into a packet. And I would say we should move forward with a enforcement order requiring the property owner to appear before us to present this. Otherwise, we're just asking nicely and hoping for the best. But then we could withhold additional decisions on how we want to potentially remediate any situations that did arise until we have that hearing. So thank you.
Thank you, Seth. And I notice, yes, Will.
I did just want to reiterate what Seth just said too, because I had meant to say this but omitted it from my comments. But we are able to edit and make changes to what the actual meat of the enforcement order says. So totally agree with what Seth said. It's just pretty much that we can't make a determination yet of what to actually enforce upon potentially. But I would agree that there's probably something.
Right. So we have two members of the public who would like to speak, Stephen Kern and Arthur Gasparo. So Stephen, are you pointing down to Art? You're muted, Steve.
Yeah, I'd let Art go first.
Okay. Art, good afternoon again.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll be brief, recognizing it's not an agenda item, but I would say I've been engaged by the property owner to do the survey and prepare the plan. So, if that helps you to perhaps not go through a formal enforcement action, to know that, it's in the works. and it's going to be coming. And so I just wanted to let you know that.
Thank you. Do you have any timeline attached to that?
Well, on the spot there.
Because I know you're not busy at this time of year.
I'd appreciate, I don't know exactly, I would think that, a few weeks to a month probably would be realistic given the, existing commitments and having the level of detail and doing the field work, and probably about a month would seem probably when we could have a deliverable.
Thank you. Stephen?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a couple of suggestions and questions. One of them is that I think, in addition to doing an as-built survey, the applicant or the property owner, to the extent that they're able to, should identify the timeline for the changes that have been made since the work has been done, over decades, essentially. And I think it would be helpful for the commission to understand to the best we can when that work was done. Or when the owner thinks it was done. I also think it would be helpful for the applicant to identify if they think that anything is permittable, to identify under what basis they think it's permittable. And I think that some of the work that we see there is permittable and essentially should be permitted with appropriate conditions. And some of the work is potentially not permittable and should be removed at the end of this process if the commission determines that. And then I guess I could do a very, very short presentation if the commission wants to see it on what the main concerns are. Is there an interest in seeing that now, or do you want me to wait?
Well, first of all, who are you representing, Stephen?
Sure. I represent the South Wisconsin Neighborhood Association, which is a membership of about 25 homeowners who live in the area, who are working to try to bring the summer house into compliance with various rules and regulations, whether that be zoning, environmental, and otherwise.
So I think I would prefer that both parties were present for this, although I appreciate you offering to present. But I don't know what the sense is of commissioners on this. Will, I notice your hand up.
I'm just going to be the person who says, I just want to be careful since this is not specifically agended with any presentation. I don't, it may not be an issue, but.
Yeah, I mean, I filed the complaint, so what I could do is give a extremely brief summary of the complaint, but I'm also willing to, do it under whatever process the commission thinks is appropriate. I'm not trying to, force that process.
No, I understand, Stephen. And Mike, and then Seth.
Yeah, I was going to agree with you, Mr. Chairman, and Will, that we wait and just make sure all parties are present. So I think it'll just be more clear and concise in the end, as well as fair.
Thank you. Seth?
Completely agree. And just, anyone in the meantime could submit written testimony to the NRD as they deem fit.
Thank you, Seth. So Stephen, we'll be receiving more evidence from you perhaps, and you'll know when we are actually meeting on this.
Sure, I appreciate that. I think that the commission will ultimately get to the right place on it. Thank you.
Thank you. So the issue of the choir strewn up to
one question to go back just for a moment. I like the idea of an all commission site visit there at some point.
Yes, absolutely. And so I assume we had actually all put our thumbs up for that
okay.
Yeah, and Mr.
Yes,
Chairman,
Stephen.
if I might respectfully request that you give Art a date by which he should respond a month from now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that's a reasonable request, Art, even if you respond that it's still in the works.
I'd be happy to through you, Mr. Chair, update the commission, say in about a month, perhaps when that meeting is. And I might also respectfully suggest that your site visit would be probably most productive once you have that plan in your hands.
Well, that makes sense. So, yes, Seth.
I'll defer to Will for a second.
Will?
We might have been about to say similar things. I think we need a vote for ratification of the EO, but the text is going to read requests for both parties to it doesn't seem like we would have the as-built plan by June 6th or June 20th. I don't know if we're comfortable with July 11th or if we put June 20th as a placeholder. But I think we need a vote for that EO and to pick a date.
So,
for said EO.
so my feeling is that this can be dealt with without enforcement order after what I've heard from Art. But if the commission feels differently, and Seth, you have your hand up.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I do feel differently, and I tend to just generally on this topic.
I'm sorry, you feel differently and what?
And tend to generally on this topic. I
Gotcha.
think we should follow the enforcement process that is laid out, and issue the enforcement requesting the meeting on a specific date. And if the parties don't have the resources available to us by that date, what we've generally done in the past is add some language that says, if you are not ready on this date, please submit a letter indicating your progress and when you expect to be ready. I mean, I trust Art. I know he is going to do a good job here, but we want to make sure that this doesn't fall off of our agendas and out of our minds, and to put it on the books and to make it real here keeps it in the queue. So that's how I would prefer to proceed, but I'll defer to the rest of the commission.
Go ahead and make a motion to that effect, Seth. Oh, sorry, Art.
I don't want to interfere in deliberations on the commission. I guess I was just wondering if it's not clear there's a dispute perhaps as to whether there's enforceable actions whatsoever and there is information forthcoming, then what is the purpose of an enforcement order if it's not a clear violation that the commission's addressing?
I can respond if you'll allow.
Yes, go ahead. And I think also Will sort of had his hand up, but go ahead, Seth.
Yeah, and I hear you, Art, but we've used a very similar process in the past. Basically, the purpose of the enforcement order is to compel the parties involved to provide us the information to determine if the violation occurred or not. And so that's how I think we should proceed. Thank you.
Thank you. Will?
Seth talks better than I do.
Okay, so commissioners, I will put it to a vote. Seth, would you like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to issue an enforcement order requesting that the parties appear before us at the June 20th meeting, or provide us a letter before that date indicating why they're not ready to present.
Do I have a second? Thank you, Tim. By roll call vote, Mark Beal. Mark, you're muted.
Sorry. Aye.
Tim Brain.
Aye.
Seth Engelborg.
Aye.
Mike Mazzarelli.
Aye.
Joe Pandowski.
Aye.
Ian Golding, aye, with Linda recused. So,
Thank you.
thank you, Stephen. Thank you, Art.
Thank you.
So, I've received a number of well, we've all received, I think, pictures of the choir debris strewn up to Great Point. And unfortunately, I mean, unlike the conditions that we just attached to KeyBank National Association, 14 Washington Pond Road, we don't have the identification markers on the choir that clearly comes from the Baxter Road array. And while I appreciate Ms. Molinar saying that she went down with a trash bucket, my guess is that you could probably fill 30 or 40 trash buckets with everything that's strewn. I shouldn't put it that way. I would say that was represented a small amount of what has come out of that array. Do we have any appetite for an enforcement order there, or do you feel that we don't have the hard evidence to tie it to the choir rolls? Any observations to be made? Well, then I'll talk at once. So, all right, I can recognize a lead balloon when I see one. So, all right. Okay. All right, that brings us on to reports. Crack.
Nothing new.
CPC.
We met last week and gave this week actually gave away some money or the reimbursement to many of our applicants.
Thank you, Mark. NP and EDC.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We had a meeting this Monday. A majority of that discussion was taken up by discussion related to NOAA's proposed rule changes to the right whale vessel strike reduction program. And I would urge you all, if you're not aware of this, to read up on it. Obviously, there is great environmental benefit by protecting right whales, but the language as written, I think, has some significant concerns for Nantucket. NOAA's looking at the entire eastern seaboard with this and drafting blanket policy regulations. And essentially one of the impacts of this proposed rule, if it went into place, would be a mandatory vessel speed reduction to 10 knots or less for all boats 35 feet or greater from November 1st to May 30th, so pretty much half the year. And that would significantly impact vessel traffic and ferry traffic as we know it. It would pretty much make the Highlands operation impossible, and specifically would also cause a lot of impacts to the steamships operations. So I know it's a little bit maybe out of our purview, but it does, obviously concern activities taking place in land underwater, land under the ocean. And I think that everyone should read up on this issue and think about the potential impacts it would have to Nantucket.
Has a right whale actually ever been seen in the Sound?
There are no confirmed visual or acoustic detections of right whale in Nantucket Sound. And NOAA is saying that, given the habit of that whale, that even if detections aren't confirmed, that the whales may be present. And while that's absolutely true, I think that in this case, it might be a case of being overcautious with regulations. And there is an effort that's being put forth by the NP and EDC and the county commissioners of Nantucket to try to get Nantucket Sound either exempted from this rule or to have some specific exemptions for ferry traffic. But this rule was proposed back in 2022 and then was on hold for a couple years, and then it was re-entered into session on March 20th, I believe, of this year. And it's currently before the Office of Management and Budget. And apparently NOAA could issue this rule any day. The NPNEDC has requested a consultation to meet with OMB to talk about the potential concerns or impacts to Nantucket. I believe the county commissioners is doing that as well. And we have been told that the rule can't be issued while consultations are ongoing, but once all consultations have been concluded, potentially it could be issued at any point after that.
Thank you, Seth. Yeah, I mean, without making light of the subject in any way, I mean, the fact that it's like saying that there might be blue cheese on the dark side of the moon, and the fact that you haven't found it doesn't mean to say it isn't there. You can't prove a negative, and it just seems astounding that they would argue at that level. So
yes, and I'm aware that we are the Conservation Commission here, and that our role as a Conservation Commission is to protect resource areas and the species within that area. But I am very concerned that this personally, outside of my role here, that this rule, if enacted, will essentially change life on Nantucket as everyone knows it. It would drastically change the landscape of our island. And I don't know if we can do anything about it within this commission, given our role and purpose, but I'm urging you all to read up on this and maybe do your own part as to what you see to be fit, because it would cause significant impacts to the island if enacted as proposed.
thank you. And before I recognize Linda, if you don't mind, Linda, if I ask the question that you might be able to answer yourself, but have our senators and congressmen, when women become involved in this, they must have, right?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
they're involved,
Yeah.
and they have been working on it, but
Right. Thank you. Yes, Linda.
It's not just us, obviously, it's the Vineyard and a couple of other places that also have ferry service, like the one that goes to Boston on the other side of the Cape.
yeah, Providence.
Now, what I was wondering is if we could support the NPDEDC by sending a letter to them or signing on to a letter or some such thing like that. It's not just the ability to get on and off the island, especially if you have medical, et cetera, et cetera. It's also all the kids would have to stop playing sports. Because when my daughter graduated in 95, they were flying the teams, and I had both my kids were all three sports, all 4 years of high school, and they flew off and back because they didn't have the fast boat all year round back then. So when that happened, the kids can go back and forth. All the sports are going back and forth on the High Line, at a $5 rate. If that stops, the kids cannot play off island anymore at all, or they'd have to leave school on the 6:30 boat. So it's not just simply the tourism or the convenience or medical trips. It affects the entire school system.
Yeah, I urge everybody to watch the recording on YouTube of the NPDC meeting from this Monday. We talked for over an hour about all the impacts, including what Linda's talking about, athletic impacts. We talked about medical impacts, mental health impacts, economic development impacts, all sorts of things. We talked about this for a while, so it was a good discussion. And there was some points raised to try to maybe get the school committee or other committees to join in on this effort. I'm not exactly sure if it's appropriate for the Conservation Commission to be involved or not. I'll defer to the chair and staff on that, given our role, but I just want to make everybody aware of this, so you know that this is a big deal for Nantucket.
Within our purview, of what we're supposed to protect, I mean, I'm concerned, as everybody is, that there's not a shred of evidence that right whales have ever been discovered, have ever been witnessed in the Sound, but I'm not sure how we might go about sending a letter and
Yeah. They're normally north of us.
Right.
My kids live up in PEI, and they're normally up in that direction. In fact, one, I believe, made it all the way across the Northwest Passage a couple of months ago, which was very unusual. But they're normally out to sea, and they're normally east of Truro type of thing, and maybe south of us. But I've never, in all the years you and I have lived here, and Mark Beal has lived here, none of our boats have ever come in contact with a whale between here and Hyannis or here in Woods Hole. There's
Well,
anecdotal evidence of that.
Yeah, and I don't think the steamship manager confirmed that too. I think even NOAA's data shows that they don't have any detections from their whale mapping. I think if we were going to do anything, we would have to constrain it to something basically saying, we appreciate your efforts to protect endangered species, but we need to use science-based policy and appropriate technology to ensure that the areas that are being classified under this rule are actually areas that whales are benefiting from. Because, you know, if you make a rule and nothing is there and it's not benefiting the resources, it's just causing unintended impacts. I think it would be limited to
Can we
that.
send a letter like that, Mr. Chairman?
I'd be happy to ask staff to send a letter like that.
I think
And
Seth should write it.
to certainly bring it before us at our next meeting. So, because I completely
Right.
agree with you, Seth, it's not the way you should run a country, is making scientific decisions without scientific evidence. So,
I have, just so you know, on this issue, I have a direct line to the president because I do work for her. And I'm going to text her or email her later on this weekend to see if she's here. And if she can put a bug in his ear and maybe he can do something.
well, go ahead, talk to him about Ukraine while you're at it. So,
Yeah.
all right. So, all right. So, Will, if you can, we'll brainstorm, and if you can maybe get a letter in shape for our next meeting in 2 weeks. And then Linda, that brings you on with the harbor plan.
Yeah, we met with we're on the probably the bear of the report, which is the harbor health, which sort of touches on a lot of the other sections we've already slogged through, and harbor health and safety. And we've had Sheila Lucy there twice, because whatever we come up with, she has to buy into, and she has to give us advice as to what and how we're going to craft the goals and objectives and performance items. And she's been very helpful. And we're almost done with that section. We've gone through all of the public comments, which were really largely on this one section. And we're going to move on to the next section, but we're getting to the point where we're going to have a draft and a couple of public meetings during the summer, so we can get more input on a sort of a draft edition of this. So we are moving along here.
Great, thank you for that update. Well, Joe, shall I gloss over the offshore wind work group?
Yes, you can.
All right. All right. So commissioners' comments.
Another good meeting, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, thank you, Linda. It certainly has been informative. Yes, Seth.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Hoping to get a another date on the agenda for the regulatory update. I know we seem to be advancing in SPPF, and we are, I think, near the end of the regulations too, but we just need to schedule these meetings and get it done.
And I absolutely agree with you. And Mike, were you going to make an observation at that regarding that, or?
Oh, yes, in part, I was going to do that, but also say, Will, it's good to see you back in the office. Hopefully things are settled for you. On the regulatory debate. I think it would be helpful if we could, I don't know, maybe schedule some independent time in the office where if commissioners have questions, they can come in and just get a
I'm
few
here.
things clarified.
Sure.
It doesn't have to be a big public hearing, but if or I'm sorry, if Will has some time that we can just say like I'm available to visit, I think that would just help speed things along when we do get to that part of the meeting.
Will, were you successful in subduing your dog?
Yes.
Okay.
He's here with me this evening, and our cleaning people just showed up, and he was very confused.
Got you. I'd like to put the regs on for the next meeting on June 6th. And I really think Mike's suggestion that any members of the commission can come in between then and now to talk to you or Jeff about questions they might have, so that any of that can be brought up on the June 6th meeting. And I would like to see us vote on some form of regulatory update on June 6th. As we all know, this has gone on for now close to 7 years. And yes, Mark?
Thank you. I would suggest that it be put on the agenda first, so we don't get to it when we're all tired and grumpy.
A good suggestion. And
I would just say too, if people are going to talk to Will or Jeff with substantive questions about this, there can't be, a quorum of members there. So
Right.
make sure you're not showing up at the same time as other people.
Right. Thank you, Seth, for that reminder. So, all right. So then, if there are no further commissioners' comments, staff reports that excluding canine updates.
Keep it brief. I'm very happy to be back in this cubicle. I know that's like a weird sentence that most people don't say, but very happy to be back here. I've even finally hung up my degrees after almost 10 years in the envelope, so nice. I just wanted to add, what's that, Ian?
The ink hasn't faded. Is that what you're telling us?
No, there's no creases. They're in perfect condition. They haven't even seen the light of day. I knew I had them and I left them in the envelope. But I also just wanted to add to what Ian said, since I am now here every day, there is, you can always email me, make sure I'm not doing site visits or whatever. I'm happy to meet with anybody any day. I'm not hiding out on the Cape anymore, so makes it a little easier.
Well, I think we all feel it's great to see you back, Will. And do you like your coffee black?
I do.
Okay.
That's exactly right. Easy.
On that note, if there are no further staff reports, do I have a motion to adjourn?
That's it.
Thank you, Joe. Seconded thank you, Mike, by roll call vote. Mark Beal.
Aye.
Tim Brain.
Aye.
Seth Engelborg.
Aye.
Mike Mazzarelli.
Aye. Good job keeping it under 3 hours.
Aye.
Linda Williams.
Aye.
Ian Golding. Aye. Thank you very much, everybody.
Have a good long weekend, guys.
Yeah.
I like the 4 o'clock meeting.
Yeah. All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Thank you all. Jackie, I don't know if you can hear me, but we are adjourned. Thank you.